Mike Gill, State of Corruption. We're going to solve a murder plot together. But before we do that, we got to have motive. Or we do in this case. All right? When we're done explaining this to you, and you're certain of who wanted me dead, then we can put these people away from the corruption throughout the state. Let me go on. All right? So you're going to need motive. Let me give you motive. I had a meeting with Mr. Trump's people last week. That's why I was followed all last week, in which we found somebody falling out of the bush, because I was giving this information. But they got it. All right? Let me give you an idea what they got. They got the evidence from Liberty Mutual and how they work corruptly with Shaheen and Gordon Devine, Matt, McLean Law Firm, and how they work corruptly, right? When they turn around with Morris Mahoney, with the DRA, this information and witnesses that are willing to come forwards and who are asking for immunities, which I believe Mr. Trump's going to give them, because the resolution of all this is more important than these individuals. I want to go on about why we need motive. The corruption in the AG's office, the IRS, the Department of Revenue, New Hampshire Banking Department, every piece of witnesses, evidence, indisputable that they'll come forwards, and that we have. And if you questioned it, why do you think Liberty Mutual offered me $50 million? We're posting the list. You've seen the video, the list. It's signed. $50 million. The only thing that happened was I refused to give them releases. Because what they were guilty of wasn't malpractice, was criminal. Criminal in the divorce cases, criminal with drugs and the protection of criminals and the judges and the DRA and the IRS. The IRS, we only have Tim Campus, the Adjutant General of the IRS, saying they have a mole in my company. We have them on tape. There's no question. What do you think they offer you that much money for? So now you say no. Because the size of the criminality, which is why they had to murder me. Let's go over a timeline. Let's solve the crime. Let's find out who did it. We know who had the motive. Right? Shaheen, Walker, Kakavis, Devine, Matt, McLean, they are partners with the drug dealers. Anagos, Cruz, Griner, and it goes on, and there's more. They are partners with these people. One is protection. One makes the money. It's that simple. All right? So let's go to the murder and solve the crime and create the timeline. All right. November 29th, 2015. I was in Miami. I was there. I was at the Ritz-Carlton. I posted a video called Room Service, where a guy about 6'7", 6'8" broke into my hotel room to try to kill me, murder me. I had my son Clay with me too. Now, what I didn't know, let me set this up for you. I went to Miami with an intention to deliver a criminal package. A package that I was calling that the banking department was corrupted. It was through the FRM, but it was the protection of other agencies. In this case, it was Granite State Credit Union with Bob Flory. Janet DeFuco came to me with the issue. They were taking her house, and I noticed it was predatory lending. She should have never got that loan. They should have never done that. So there's no checks and balances. Then they said the banking department looked at it. Perlo, remember the drug dealer? And he said it was all right. So I made that appointment. I had Brian Toomey. All right, let's go through this. Brian Toomey, my VP, made the connection for me and helped put the criminal package. Carrie Lemieux, my assistant and paralegal, set the appointment. Those were the only two people, and then the National Mortgage Association, that I knew that I was there for that reason. It was that night that they tried to murder me. I didn't understand, but what they were doing was protecting the entrance to the banking department of this state. and now I am certain, and was then, that they are protecting drug dealers. Well, I was bumping into that operation. Carrie Lemieux and Brian Toomey was in constant communications with Walker and Shaheen. These are the assholes who offered me the $50 million. These are the corrupt individuals that run this state with those law firms, see? So they're communicating them, which is why Brian Toomey is gone and you can't find him. Right, because he was giving them my schedule. He gave it to Walker. Walker had to give it to Cruz and Aganos and Griner. That's why that guy was there. I still didn't even know Cruz, Aganos, and Griner at that point. I knew there was drug dealers. I knew it was connected with the banking department, but I didn't know who they were. Okay? So timeline number 2 happens January 22nd. I'm at my Manchester office. I get a call and I schedule an appointment with a gentleman named Aaron Day. Now, you may remember that Aaron was working with me and Aaron ran for senator against Ayotte. Okay. What Aaron had told me is that he met with a ex-town manager in Bedford named Mike Ispecki. He was a town manager. Now, that town manager was telling Aaron, Cruz, Aganos, and Griner were drug dealers. We're controlling all this, the corruption in the state. Now, Aaron Mao was concerned about his own safety because Ispecki mentioned that his son was arrested with Aganos' son. Right. Alex. You know. And then they went to the Bedford Police Department, Aganos Sr., and had them both walk. Put it all to sleep. Except for Ispecki and his son was fear that his son was going to be murdered for knowing too much. Ispecki went to Aaron. Aaron went to Kevin Avard, State Senator Avard. What do you ask him? Edelblunt, the half pint that was running for governor. Why don't you ask him? Because they wouldn't help him. They're running scared. So somewhere on a list of Aaron Days was my Gill. Right. So he managed to get to me when everybody else wouldn't help him, and Aaron was afraid, petrified of his own life. As it turns out, he had a right to be. So when Aaron came to me again, January 10, 22nd, it's important on these timelines, I told him, and I took my own advice, is make it as public as possible. I'll put these assholes on the signs, I'll go on the radio, and I'll call them out. But you have to prove to me that they are these people. I had a meeting with Ispecki, with Aaron. Ispecki said he was working with the DEA. He said that they do run Granite State Credit Union. They are laundering money, and they are about the banking department. He knew about them. In fact, he called them the 4 horsemen of the Greek mafia. Anagos, Pappas, Gatsis. See, there's 3 of them. They explained it to me. So now I knew the corruption with Shaheen, and I knew it with Walker. And then I seen it how it started to work and went, uh-oh. With my piece and their piece, I found the drug dealers. And the more research and the more evidence that I came, it became more and more obvious. Not only were they the drug dealers, they were the drug dealers. Now remember, these people offered me all the money. They are their partners. They're the ones who turned around on the 29th and said, you got to take him out. He's getting into the banking department, which would get us all. All right. So then after that, on the 23rd of January, remember that mole the IRS talked about? I got her, Isa Crane. I bring in my friend, Joe Karen. Okay? Here's the timeline. It's important, these timelines. And he turns around and does the books to find out that Brian Toomey was robbing us blind, hundreds of thousands of dollars. He bought his house with the company money. He furnished the house with the company money. You know why he could do that? Because he didn't think I was going to be around. Right. So now we got the embezzlement. Then we got Isa. Brian's out. We take care of Brian. I didn't know Brian was still working with Kerry. Now. So on the 1st, that's February 1st, March 7th, I'm working with Erin now. We're getting on to the drug dealers. I'm on the radio. I'm getting more witnesses. 7 o'clock at night, I believe it was on a Monday. I am, in 15 years, I have never been in the Manchester office in the evening. Never. So this was a first. I was there with Erin Day in the conference room. He was on one end, I was on another. A guy walked in, black leather coat, didn't say a word. Came all the way to the conference room, slid around to the door, reached behind, right in front of me, as a gentleman named Greg, a Federer, came in. We were doing a video with him. It was that gong that I believe that saved my life, and I believe Erin Day too. That's number 2, by the way. All right. And then, by catching Brian, I fire Brian. Then on the 17th, March 17th. Now, understand now, I have the drug dealers on the sign. Got Walker on the sign. Aganos and Cruz are interviewed by the union leader on this March 17th. Okay? Now, 2 attempts have already happened on my life. And what the union leader let me read a little of the article. The sign labels as drug dealers 2 of the city's most prominent business leaders who happens to be partners in building a new nonprofit addiction center. Right. They know about Medicaid expansion, nonprofit bullshit, the drug dealers who are making their own patients. Unbelievable. For years, Michael Gill has used his signs at Mortgage Specialist Business in Manchester and other locations to vent his outrage at politicians, lawyers, judges, as he claims they are corrupt. I still claim that they're corrupt. Now let's think. They turned around and said for years, before the drug dealers, remember the 50 million? Remember the politicians and the judges and Liberty Mutual? Here they are. And here's the union leader recognizing that I've had them on my sign years prior. And now we got drug dealers. Damn right now we got drug dealers with them. Turns out these bastards have been partners right along, which makes sense. How do you become an empire that they build with protection? Ask Bulger. The minute he didn't have protection, where's he now? That's what's going to happen here. I go on. Andy Cruz, Autofair, Dick Aganos Industry, labeled as drug dealers? Cruz was recently named Greater Manchester Chamber of Commerce Citizen of the Year. And Aganos won the same award. That's the cover, you morons. So, they go on to say that Aganos doesn't want to waste the time in suing me. Cruz doesn't want to waste the resources. In fact, Aganos says, I'm in good company on Gill's sign. Gene Shaheen and Kelly Ayotte was on there. Right. Yes, they were. And they are corrupt. As are you. Okay? So they're saying they weren't going to sue me. Damn right. They were going to kill you. They weren't going to sue me. Right? Because they knew if I wasn't telling the truth, you can get an injunction in 10 minutes and they have them off all the signs. We're working on almost a year coming up, and guess what? No one's taken them off the sign now, have they? Even when the judges are that corrupt and they're that filthy. And this was an AG's operation. Delker, right out of the AG. Ruoff, Howard, AG. Remember? That's who would go to jail. They are the ones covering the crimes. See? So that's that operation. So now, let's go on. So, let me see. March, Gill. So, on the 7th, on the 17th, you can see they don't want to sue me. On the 23rd, Gill is jailed for contempt. Now I'm going to give you this as evidence, Your Honor. Plus, you made it very clear, and would you agree, Your Honor, the most important piece in family court is the welfare of the children. Is that correct?
Sir,
Is that correct, Your Honor? Welfare of the children.
Sir, I'm not here to answer questions.
Okay,
I'm here to conduct the hearing.
Well, I believe that that's the case for the children. Now, what I'm telling you is that it refers to these.
Let me interrupt you for 1 second. I see two people with, are they videoing?
Oh, absolutely.
Right now?
Right.
Right now?
Why not right now? Yes.
Walker and Shaheen and the boys, they go, we got to get rid of them. They weren't suing me, but they could lead to breaking down everything. Contempt of court. That's why when I went to jail the first day and a half, I mean, they were taking my blood pressure every 2 hours. When have these bastards been that concerned about my health? They were going to murder me and have it look like a heart attack. Wow. See, this, in a normal world, this sounds a little outrageous. Problem is, this shit's my normal world, and it is out there, and because you can't see it, it exists, or you're too cowardly to fight against this evil. But let's go on. I have a meeting in jail with Jared Bedrick, who was a lawyer. They called me, and they said, Dave Carney's here to see you. Now, Dave Carney was a past friend of mine that was a lawyer. So I went. Turned out to be Jared Bedrick. You know what he said to me? First thing? Told me to take the deal. Now you remember how I got to jail.
On the record, right?
You're on the record, sir.
So can you explain why you wouldn't take the text messages to threaten to murder my children? You were on the man, Your Honor.
Sir, you are no longer participating in this hearing.
Oh, we're on the record, though.
As by your own statements.
Oh, well, my statement is during this procedure, when I was on the record, you refused those text messages.
Have a seat.
I just had letters sent to me threatening to cut my children's head off and to take the deal. I meet this guy and the first thing out of his mouth is, take the deal. I didn't even know who the hell this guy was. Now you're going to see that after I told him no, I realized I screwed up because I saw his face and there was a resolution in it, like I was fucked. So I wrote a letter, said to him, I believe that I am going to be murdered. And today, that day, that evening in fact. And let's not forget, my blood pressure did drop in half. And I have that evidence. And then they turned around and wanted to give me something to drop my pressure even lower. Now we have that as evidence. There is no getting around it. Those assholes are going to jail. But I digress. Okay? So in other words, then they turned around and it was that night. And I didn't eat for the next 8 days. Jared, you see in the information, he admits that I told him that. In writing. He was supposed to go to the DEA that day. You hear what he write? Oh, I made a call. Yeah, I didn't get to it. Bullshit. That guy's an accomplice. He knows. Okay, so I get out of jail. Right? So now there's 3, by the way. So let's look at that timeline. Out of jail. All right? Just after I get out of jail, Aganos, Griner, and Cruz sue me, and a week later, Walker. Now, not because these assholes are innocent, because they know that I have evidence and witnesses. They're using their butt boy Delker from the AG's office to get everybody's information, and guess what? It's exactly what they did, and these animals are calling them and threatening them. Just like I said I would. All right? So in other words, after those murder attempts. Now think about this. Just recently, and I issued that tape, I had an interview with a gentleman who, Sequoias, the right-hand man of Aganos, went to hire to murder me. That's right. And he goes right after you got out of jail. Listen, he's a witness. He said it in front of witnesses. There's no getting around it. So as soon as I get out of jail, they go to hire someone to murder me again. As a witness, you heard the tape. Number 4, how's that? Right? Because of this information. That's why. Now let's keep going on. When I caught Brian had a phone and a computer that he was working with to me. If we give this to the FBI, which we tried to do, we put them all in jail. Guess what? Guy named Jonathan Irish. Another guy I've been speaking to on the phone, trying to help out. He was dealing with Kakavas, U.S. attorney on gun charges. Well, guess what? He took the computer and the phone and didn't give it back to us. Only till recently. What's the bet they scraped that evidence? And you know what? Kakavas had him on a gun charge. What's the bet our boy who pleaded guilty doesn't go to jail now? See how deep this is? U.S. attorneys, right? So what happened? All we've got to do is take Richard Head from the AG's office. He'll tie in the AG, the banking, give you Ayotte, give you Shaheen. Then turn around and this murder, we give Brian Toomey, Kerry Lemieux, Richard Head, all of them immunity. Everything what we're saying, the murder for hire, the drugs, the corruption, and listen people, across this country means the IRS at the very highest level is corrupt and extorting. I know there's corruption in your state. I'm willing to work with all of you. We're going to set a model here. We're going to show people it is possible to get justice with Mr. Trump's help. With a president who's working against corruption. I am telling you what I'm saying is 100% true. Why do you think I turned down so much money? If it wasn't for this moment. And trust me, it was a long shot getting here. Beyond your imagination, I had to have Trump win. Besides all this. But I am telling you, the moons are aligned. Don't tell me you don't know and feel this corruption here. Don't tell me you don't feel their nervousness. It's now you find your courage. It's now we got them. We got them on their heels. Mike Gill, state of corruption. Let's not let these bastards go.